what you need to know. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for what you need to know on this Monday. We're very happy you're here with us as we begin another week. Right now,
Okay, we're hearing television behind somebody, it sounds like. Mute your phone.
And now more than 360,000 lives.
Do I have to have my phone?
No, but you have to mute your mic or we're hearing everything in your room. Can you see how to mute your mic?
Yeah, well, I've got the room muted, so.
Okay. There, that's good. That's good.
How you guys?
Good. How you holding up, Wanda?
Holding up pretty good. Was kind of upset about David, but you know, he grew up around the corner, so I miss him. But otherwise, doing okay, just going a little stir crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, Dr. Curry. How are you?
Hi there. Who else here? Good.
You know who this is, right?
Give us a clue.
Michael Reed.
That's what I thought I recognized.
Hey, Michael.
That's okay. Hey,
It's all good. You see, we're waiting on JC and Ted Haney. They had accepted, I think. Several others had.
They're not giving.
There's Jennifer in the waiting room.
Oh, is there? Okay, that's
I have
what
I have a quick question.
What's
I
that, Michael?
understand the meeting will be transcribed. Is there any way somebody can send me the transcription?
It will not be transcribed. It will be an audio recording, Michael. So you can listen to it. I'm not transcribing it. No.
I understand. Karen, I'll get on that assignment today.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to you later about that, but I can share the recording with you, Michael.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to go to mute now so you can't hear everything I do, okay?
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
appreciate it.
Miss Keene has sent me an email saying she can't get in, which doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to try calling her real quick. Wanda,
Yeah,
I think that, don't you have your police scanner on?
yeah.
I can hear it.
Oh, turn the scanner down, please. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
This is not house.
Welcome, everybody. We're waiting for a few others who said they were going to be here to log in a couple more minutes. For those of you who aren't familiar with this kind of setup, if you're on your computer and you bring your cursor up near the middle, you'll see a bar there, and it helps turn on your, you can turn your camera on and off. You can turn your, and you can mute your microphone. And generally speaking, when others are speaking, we ask others to kind of to mute their microphones because you pick up all sorts of echoing. And dog in my house, it would pick up the dogs barking if the someone arrived. All of those sorts of things. So it's good to know how to do that. Those of you who are on phone, and we have several of you, you probably already know how to mute. And for those of you who weren't aware, this is Teams product. You've heard of Zoom. and FaceTime and all those sorts of things. We use Teams. It comes from our Microsoft program, and you can get as many as, even with a whole lot more people in on the call through their computers, we can see as many as 9 faces at a time. Once 9 people have spoken, then the last 9 will be the pictures you will see in front of you. That's about it. And we should tell everyone you are being recorded because it is a public meeting, and the recording is the public record. So just so folks understand that this is being recorded because it's a public body. So Karen, do you want to take attendance or anything like that, or?
No, I'll have attendance on the computer based on who the attendees were, and I'll have that recorded. I just want to know, did Ms. Keene get in?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay. All right.
We have several people who all we're seeing is your phone number. Perhaps, Karen, I need to ask those folks to identify who goes with what number.
That would be good. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Whose begins 240-200?
Oh, that would be mine. Michelle Gutierrez.
Okay. And 301-752.
That's Sarah Lively here.
Okay. 410-257.
That would probably be me, George Sisson.
All right. 410-474.
Yeah, that's me.
Michael, I got it.
Okay. 443-624.
Dawn Keene.
571-572. 571-572. Going once.
This is just a parent.
Oh, parent, just a parent. Okay. Then we have Wanda and Jennifer Nara, Christine Schrump, and Chris. Diane Workman is here. We have Sarah. Is that Sarah? Pastor Sarah. Okay. And Joe Palmer is on the call. He's technical support. Diane Workman and Rick Libbert is also there. He's IT. And so I'll just go ahead and get started. Karen was talking about this CAC meeting scheduled for this month, talking about canceling again. And I said, well, let's try to get everybody together through a Teams meeting and just give them an update on everything. So that's why we're here. I'm going to just kind of quickly go through how we got where we are. And then I'm going to ask Diane to tell us a little bit about continuity of learning plan that we have submitted to the state. Talk a little bit about what we're working on next, and then we can try to answer your questions. So started on, well, a lot of people will debate when things started. Started in China in January, like that. But anyway, for us, March 12th, we were told to plan on March 13th being our last day of school for 2 weeks statewide. So we put the word out for teachers to do everything they could. We're going to be closed for 2 weeks. And we weren't sure what exactly that meant, whether we would be back on March 30th or not. So on March 13th, the teachers got to see the kids for the last time. And on March 13th, there were a lot of parents didn't send their kids to school. So attendance was down lower than normal, even on March 13th. But many teachers were able to say, this isn't your work that you have to do for the next 2 weeks, but here are some things to keep you in school mode. Then on March 25th, I think we were told, we're we're going to not come back at least until April 24th. Now, during that 2 weeks we've been off, Diane and the instructional department had gotten the instructional supervisors every content area. They worked with some teachers, and they were asked to prepare plans for at least 2 weeks of online lessons, 2 weeks of online learning. And so we had several teachers work with our supervisors during that time. At the same time, we ask all principals to ask their families, if you have to work online from home soon, do you have the equipment you need for that? And that began our laptop distribution. We, for some of our schools were one-to-one or partially one-to-one, but not everyone took their computer home on March 13th. And in our high schools, we have enough laptops for approximately 2/3 of the school population at each of our 4 high schools. Those are not distributed one-to-one student because they're every classroom has potentially got sophomores and freshmen and juniors and kids from various grade levels. So we drew from them as well, and our IT people really kicked in helping prepare laptops, get them distributed, and they did a good job of that. So once we were told on the 25th of March that we won't be back at least until April 24th, our team was ready with training. Our teachers had to log in to training on March 30th and March 31st and be ready to teach online on April 1st. And so we, from what I can gather, from what a lot of other counties did, we were able to hit the ground running fairly quickly compared to a lot of others. And everybody knows April 24th, before that happened, we were told, well, now we're going to be at least till May 15th, and then 15th, that's it for the rest of the year. So at this point now, we've still got 4 weeks of instruction because the state required us. They said they would waive 5 missed days, and we missed 10. So of the 5 days that were missed, we had to reschedule 5 days of instruction. We got 2 of those in spring break. We get another one in thanks to Election Day not taking up any space at schools. And then we had to add 2 more on the end of the calendar, which unfortunately meant we had to count a Friday and a Monday as the last 2 days of school in June. And that's pretty much how it all went down and some of the things that had to happen. Once people realized that we were serious about the online learning, then we had more people ask for more computers, or people thought they might have what they needed, or there were families where they had a computer or 2, but then mom and dad ended up working from home as well, and they found they didn't have enough. So we have lots of families where both mom and dad are are working from home, and they're trying to manage their kids and their kids' schooling at the same time. It's not easy. We have deliberately the total amount of content that has been pushed out for this last quarter has not been nearly what it could be. We have to acknowledge that. It's a lot lighter, and we are trying to not only try to keep everyone in instructional mode, but also recognize challenges that some families have, especially kindergarten, first grade, second grade. The work that gets pushed out still takes a lot of work for the parents to read and interpret. The older kids maybe can handle a little bit more independence and following directions, but for the little ones, we acknowledge it's been a lot of work on parents, and distance learning doesn't translate well for the ones who aren't yet reading on their. So I'm going to hand it over to Diane, let her tell you a little bit about the continuity of learning plan she and staff prepared, submitted to the state.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Curry. As Dr. Curry said, typically we would want to address all of the standards that are set forth by the Maryland College and Career Ready standards in any given school year. But because of COVID, we knew we weren't able to do that. But so our goal, continuity of learning, was to provide instructional activities to students pre-K to 12 on a limited number of standards and really looking at the standards and identifying those critical standards where students need to maintain their learning in order to be ready for next school year. So as a result, we had committees working nonstop to prepare lessons for all content pre-K to grade 12. And I have to say that some districts only address the core content, but in Calvert County Public Schools, we address core content as well as electives. We set up sample schedules for students. So a student day would consist, we ask students to attempt to sign on during every day, but knowing that, as Dr. Curry said, we may have 3, 4, 5 siblings in one household fighting over one computer. We know that not all students can be on at the same time. All students at a grade level or content area can be on at the same time. But we assigned our teachers by content a specific day when they would push out their content. For example, I'm trying to pull up my exact schedule here. Let's say ELA, and let me back up a minute. Prior to pushing this out, our staff also planned for and delivered a tremendous amount of professional development for our teachers. Our teachers have never had to present the quality and quantity of work to all students through a digital environment. I would say many of our teachers have produced lessons in using technology, but never in the way that we were doing right now. So on March 30th and March 31st, our teachers all participated in mandatory professional development to develop a deeper understanding of exactly what teaching in a digital environment might be. On April 1st, our instruction began, and we had set up schedules, as I said, for each content was given 1 day or 2 days a week to push out content. So math and social studies in a high school would push out content on Monday and Wednesday. Tuesdays and Thursdays would be English, science, world language, fine arts, and ESOL. Friday would be more of a sort of a makeup day and a time for students to connect with teachers, get extra support, and just to work on their learning activities. We ask teachers to be online from 8:30 to 11:30 every day, take a lunch from 11:30 to 12:30, and then back online from 12:30 to 2:30 to respond to student questions, provide additional teaching to students as needed, conduct virtual meetings with small groups or even a large classroom for as many students that were able to log on. We had a very detailed plan that needed to go to the state. And within that plan, we had to have 7 different components, and they were providing an overall description. We had to provide roles and responsibilities for all staff within our district. That's building-based staff, school-based staff, as well as central office staff. What would a typical school day look like? How are we going to grade during this time of continuity of learning? And then how would we determine if our plan was being effective? We needed to provide information on how we were meeting the needs of the individual student groups, looking at equitable access, looking at how are we meeting the needs of our students with disabilities or our English language learners. And then also a professional development plan and a list of resources for our staff and students. We did submit that plan to the state on April 24th, and we've received our first round of feedback, and overall we scored comprehensive, which was the highest level of rating per se. We've provided, I think, close to 1,600 devices to students and to staff, because we had staff members that weren't connected to the internet. So we needed to make sure that our staff who needed to communicate either with their colleagues or with students to make sure that they had access to the internet. We've provided a lot of resources regarding looking out for the mental and social emotional health of our students and our families. Our first priority is making sure that our students are aware that we care for them, that we know they are there, that they know we are here for their support. And we also made it clear to parents, or tried to make it clear to parents, that there are no firm due dates for assignments. We know that parents, as Dr. Curry said, have a lot that they are dealing with. We know that some of our teachers were not only trying to teach their students, but also their own children. So we couldn't say that I'm giving you this assignment today and it is due tomorrow, because not every child would have that access or the support needed. So we've done a lot to really educate our staff and our families that we are all in this together and we will get through this. So that's basically it in a nutshell. Beginning, I believe it was April 17th, all of our secondary students transitioned to what's called Apex, which is an online digital platform for almost all of our content. Our fine arts are not using Apex because they really didn't have the content that was required. But all of our major content areas and the majority of our electives are using Apex, which is online coursework. Any questions?
Let me go ahead and tell a couple of other things, and we'll see if this will work by people just, they can raise their hand. If you see the little hand, raise your hand, and that will give us, kind of give you an order, I guess, and an order of asking questions. Another way to ask questions a lot of folks use is in the chat room, and sometimes people can, that's one option on your bar there to show conversation. You go to chat, and sometimes people will just write their question, and then the moderator can say, okay, and read the question aloud and try to find the appropriate person to answer. But we'll open it up to questions in just a little bit. Graduation was big on a lot of people's minds, along with all the other special events that happen at the end of school and signify the end of school. And you probably won't be surprised, but I probably for a while was getting 3 or 4 emails a day from people selling some sort of way to do graduation. I usually delete anybody selling anything. I tell them I don't buy anything. Everybody who works for the school district and makes the decisions, they buy stuff, and I yield to them. If somebody has a product that they like, I'm going to presume they're going to be on the mailing list as well. Virtual graduations is one thing that was getting pushed out really quickly as far as a possibility when you can't get people together. And we put together a committee. Dr. Susan Johnson led the committee with high school principals and others, and each high school even had students participate in the committee. And then they developed, from that group, they developed a survey. I cautioned them, I said, when you survey the students, it's not a vote. We're not asking people to vote on one way or another, but we're still seeking information on what's important. And the students said, overall, what's important is being with family and friends, being able to walk across the stage, having some ceremony involved, and they didn't want to just not want to be told when to watch a movie that's going to show a picture of from their yearbook or something like that. They would really rather participate. In the end, the plan, as was agreed upon by the folks responsible for carrying it out, was to try to do a little bit of both. We'll be preparing a virtual graduation that will be like a movie that will be announced, and at this date on this time in late June, you'll be able to watch it. And it will include speeches from appropriate students at each school. Each school will have their own version. The principal's presentation, the school board president, perhaps a recorded speech, the superintendent, a recorded speech. But they're also holding out for the possibility that the rules will loosen up a little bit, so a student can have a few more folks with them, and whenever they can come to school and get their diploma and wear their cap and gown and perhaps walk across the stage. So knowing that things aren't going to be any looser in early June, aiming for a few weeks later in June to be able to pull that all together and see what can be done in terms of a face-to-face experience. But they also agreed we can't wait forever. Students have other obligations in the summer, or off to the military, or maybe off to college. And so the determination was to let's give the month of June to try to do as much as we can. Graduation. Next is, so what about summer school and things like that? We have teams working on that at the moment. I tell people, and what about what's school going to look like in September? Everyone wants to know that. I tell them there are so many things that we don't know. We don't know what we don't know that will impact all of the decisions that have to be made. In my mind, number one big decision is how many kids will we be allowed to put on a school bus? A school bus, a large school bus has 12 seats on each side of the aisle, front to back. Typically, you would get at least 2 in, that's 24 seats altogether. And typically you get at least 2 in each one of those in a crowded bus. That'd be 48. Would be permitted to put 2 in a seat to transport to school if they are wearing masks or not. If not, what will we be permitted to do when it comes to transportation? Phase 2, perhaps, of the governor's plan could signal we could perhaps bring small groups of children into school for summer school to work directly with the teacher. To me, especially for our little ones who have fallen behind, that's critical. But they got to get with the teacher. They've got to be face to face with the teacher to make the progress they need. For the older ones, Apex Learning has been a part of summer school for a long time anyway, so we might be able to just continue with summer school plans. So we're taking the position that we'll have to have multiple plans for what school is going to look like in late August, early September, and it's going to take some time and a lot of effort to work out those. So that's I will see there's. So let's open it up. There's Karen, can you, I see a hand raised.
Yeah, Mary Jo.
Okay, I'll let you call.
All right, Mary Jo, if you want to go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I apologize. I was a little bit late between my work teams and this team's. My computer was getting very confused. I have the opportunity to be in 2 different worlds. I actually work for Anne Arundel Public Schools, and I'm at work now. And I have I live in Calvert, and I have a 3rd grader who lives with me. And I want to commend everyone at Calvert County Schools for the amazing work that you've been doing, because I've been doing it on my end as well. And I can tell you, our hair is on fire every single day. But the one thing I did want to ask, and I'm seeing it very vividly now with a 9-year-old at home, is the synchronous teaching is so important for the little ones. The worksheets going back and forth are fine and dandy for now because we're all kind of reacting. But is there a plan in I know none of us know what the classroom is going to look like in September of 2020. But is there kind of a plan? I assume there's going to be online learning needed at some level, regardless of what a classroom looks like in 2020. Is there a plan for having synchronous teaching, especially for our little ones, for the next school year? Because I see they so much need to see the teacher's face and hear the teacher's voice and see their classmates.
Let me first ask you to clarify so we all know what you mean by synchronous teaching. So we're all speaking on the same terms.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. The ability to talk instantaneously and react instantaneously with the teachers and the students.
Mm-hmm. Diane, you want to?
Sure. We have discussed that, and we know that we do have to ramp it up when we start school in September if there's going to be a remote piece, a component of that. We do believe we want to try for more synchronous learning. However, it is difficult if a student is in daycare. Many of our parents are going to be back to work. So the child may be in childcare, child may be at a grandparent's house, child may have two siblings that also need to get online at that same time. So we are going to put out options. It's a scheduling nightmare to try to make sure that all kids can get online when their teacher is online. We actually, in our secondary schools, developed a schedule for when different schools and content and grades could have their virtual meetings, in the hopes that teachers weren't kind of competing with each other to reach particular students. But even that, I mean, there was overlap. There's no way to ensure that 15,000 students are able to access the teacher when they need to. So, but we are working on that. We hope we can do more of it. And we just have to wait and see what September looks like.
And we'll be looking, everybody's got to get their thinking caps on, and we'll be looking at all sorts of possibilities. You know, at one point, it's been suggested that we'll not be able to put 25 kids in a classroom at one time, that we still want, that'll still be considered too close. So we don't have enough classrooms, or we don't have the ability to double up on the number of teachers we have to split a class of 24 into two classes of 12 so they can get into a room together and still have plenty of space around. Some have suggested that what if you're teaching 5th grade and you've got, say, 24? What if you had 12 at a time? And would the other 12 just be doing assignments that you gave them? Or with the other 12 who aren't with you, are they watching you? Are they in class but home? And so that thought causes me to ask our IT people, do they make a camera to be put in a teacher's classroom that follows the teacher around, follows their motion, that the teacher can control, maybe with a remote, and get a close-up, or when they're modeling something or writing something on the board, so that half the students who are not there are still there remotely. We have a little bit of that technology now that we use with students who have to stay home for health reasons. And we have some little robots where the child can, it's just on wheel, it's an iPad on wheels. And the child home, his face or her face is right there on that tablet, watching class and being part of class. Whether we don't have a whole lot of those, we don't have enough of those for half of the student population. We just have a handful. So every little piece of technology we're going to have to mess around with and see what we can do. My wife teaches 1st grade. She does daily lessons one-on-one. She gets small groups of 4 or 5. And once again, the hardest part is consistency and parents being there to log the child in and be there for a team meeting with the teacher. So she offers those and does some small groups, does some one-on-one tutoring, and does things like just made arrangements for certain kids to get certain books in the mail. She's got those books too. She'll be teaching from those books directly. But those are the efforts of just one individual at their own expense too, and we can't leave it up to chance. We've got to have some expectations for more of that face-to-face. Okay, Karen, who's on next?
Next, Wanda.
Wanda, you're
Hi.
muted.
Yeah, I unmuted myself so you wouldn't hear my dogs. Number one, I want to commend Calvert County. The fact that we were getting ready to do the iPads and tablets and stuff for the students next year gave us a big boost. And it's amazing the counties around us that all of a sudden said, hey, what's that? I never heard of it. which cracked me up. But my two granddaughters graduated from high school out in Ohio. And one of the things they did, and it's just a suggestion, they set it up, they set the stage up, had the principal there, 5 family members could come, and every 10 minutes, one student would come, walk across stage, get their diploma in their cap and gown, have a picture taken with the family, then out they'd go, and then the next one. Yeah, it took a couple days, but at least they kind of got a graduation. One of the things my daughter, who has 2 kids in Dal Elementary, suggested was, especially with the, say, pre-K to 3rd, maybe 4th grade, is to have a week or 2 before school starts, if we could figure it out, that the kids can come to school and get like a refresher from this year's teacher, so that it gets them back up to speed. Some of the things they may not have understood or their parents couldn't help them with or something like that, they can get those questions answered one-on-one, and it would be a refresher, but it would get them back in the mode. And I basically say the first couple of years, because the older ones, they've kind of got it together. I know a lot of classes use their cell phone as the camera for the teaching process and stuff. This might be something to look into.
Okay, next.
Let me just respond a little bit. Those are great ideas, and in fact, we have kicked around the idea that rather than summer school, identify students who might have fallen behind during this time and have an early school for them. So that's right along the lines of one of the kinds of ideas that is on the table, especially for their little ones. We will be a one-to-one school district come the beginning of the school year. Every child for 3rd grade through 12th grade will be issued a laptop. That was already our plan. We were 2 years in on a 3-year plan. We've already made the commitments to the companies for 3-year leases of the next round. And so grades 3 through 12, every child will have a laptop. Now, we don't do that for K1 and 2 because the keyboarding thing is just not appropriate for the little ones. They handle the touch screen better, and we are not giving each of them one because we still count on the face-to-face stuff. So we have every classroom presently has one tablet. Every K1 and 2 classroom has one tablet for every 4 kids. So we've had once we get to one-on-one on the computers, we've had some teachers tell us that we ought to tell kids to leave their cell phones at home. Because that's a part of the bring your own device. And we have a device for everyone. Why do you need your cell phone? Those of you with children, I'm sure you know why you want your child to have a cell phone. And we don't intend to go that route. Okay, next.
Jennifer, you're next.
Hi, Dr. Curry and everyone. My kids go to Huntingtown High School. You guys have done a good job in handling this crazy situation. But I will say the little kids are very important, but I kind of feel like the high school kids are getting the short end of the stick. I mean, nobody can learn math and algebra 2 remotely. They need that online, one-on-one writing stuff out on the board. I mean, my daughter Sarah is struggling in algebra 2, and she's going into 11th grade next year. 11th grade is an important year for when they want to go to college. I mean, I know there's nothing that can change the situation, but I'm not seeing how this distance learning is I don't think it's working very well, in my opinion. You guys have done the best you could, and I get it. I don't see my kids thriving in it.
Well, Diane, I'll ask her to get in there with more detail. But yes, I don't disagree with you. Especially at the secondary level, we've gone with support from the Apex program, which is more student pushed, student motivated, work your way through the materials. And it's nothing like what would be appropriate would be something more blended, where teachers are doing lectures and recording themselves, giving lessons and things like that. And there's no way, if we have to do more of this next year, there's no way it would look like what we're doing. What we're doing right now is the best we can, given not a whole lot of preparation. But if we're going to begin the year for some courses in particular, with a lot of online, then our teachers have to get better and more skillful at being present, at doing what we call a flipped classroom, where they record their lecture and their demonstration, and that's the homework for the kids, to watch that. And then when they log on the next day, then they're all there together more interactively. Diane?
Are there going to be more deadlines next year in the beginning if we have to do the distance learning, or is it going to be more structured than?
It's got to be more intense. It's going to be, you're getting about 30% of what you might have gotten content-wise in the upper grades during this last quarter. And it's not nearly, in order to get the job done, it's going to have to be a whole lot more. I'm sorry, Diane.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
And Ms. Naren, we are not just focusing on our youngest learners. We're also looking at the high schools and middle schools. We're looking at all levels to see what sorts of support programs we need to provide, whether it's starting the school early, providing a Saturday school throughout the school year. And we're also even looking into the summer of 21 and what that might look like to help get caught up on any instruction that may have been lost. We know kids are struggling. We know this is not ideal.
And one more question, are you going to offer like tutoring for like Algebra 2 or geometry so they're ready for the next year of math if they need it?
We're currently
How
looking
do I
at.
ask a question?
Okay.
Raise your hand. You see the hand on the bar, the toolbar? Somebody just asked, how do you ask a question? You hit that and.
On my cell, I don't know how to do it on my phone.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
You can do it on your phone. We'll ask.
Okay.
I'll just mute myself then.
There is a way. Okay, that was my last question. Once you answer that.
Okay, go ahead, Diane.
So we are looking at what supports kids might need and what we're able to provide. And right now it's so iffy because we don't know what phase we're going to be in September. We don't know if we can, right now it's groups of 10 or less, but as Dr. Curry said, so what does that look like? Can we put, 9 students on a bus with a bus driver? That would be 10 students, but how do we social distance? So we could have a classroom possibly with 9 students and 1 teacher. We are exploring all different options to try to get students and teachers together in the same room. It's not going to look as it did on March 10th or March 5th or 6th, but we do want to try to get students and teachers together at some point.
And finally, before the next question, most teachers begin the year at a year with, if there was a prerequisite course, a prerequisite class, saying, okay, let's review a little bit. And typically that might be a couple of weeks. Next year, it might have to be a month or more of, let's assess where you are now and are you ready for this class that you're in today? And what do we have to do to get you caught up? So that reteaching and assessment period is likely to be much longer this coming school year. Okay.
Next question is Carly. Wait a minute, you're muted.
I see it. I saw it. I know you guys are working your butts off, and I really appreciate it. And I realize that everyone in the schools and the teachers probably also have kids at home, so they're in the same boat we're in, trying to work and teach and get their kids through everything. So I appreciate all of that. That being said, I was happy to hear that you guys are talking about how to get teachers to video instruction. I've got kids ranging from 1st grade to 8th grade, and that has been the huge problem, is that they're not being taught. Especially, I have 2 1st graders in 2 different schools, and those lessons are basically, I feel like, come over as lesson plans for me to teach to my students. Now, I have 2 1st graders, and neither one of them are doing the same work. So I have to teach 2. Yes, one has 3 times more work than the other. That's a whole nother. So I have to teach 2 different lessons to the 1st graders who can't read. And then, so it's been a struggle. And I feel like if they could at least watch their teacher instruct them, and then I just have to guide them through the worksheet, it'd be a lot easier. I would love to say I'm a teacher. I'm not a trained teacher.
You are now.
I am now, right? On the other hand, my 8th grader, when you made the switch over to Apex, world of difference. It has been great. I want to applaud Apex. He was struggling with math problems. I had to sit and relearn how to graph intersecting equations. This is not my world. So, but we asked for help, and we were basically just told to review the textbook. And I'm like, so now that he has Apex, it's so much better. So I just want to give that feedback. I do have another question about the extra services and things. I have 2 of my 3 students in schools we're trying to get through the IEP process, and we're basically just getting stonewalled. I realize that assessments and things like that are difficult because you cannot be in the same room. But these kids are falling further and further and further behind because not only are they not getting the help they need, but they can't keep on track with what they're doing, plus they need extra help. And overall, how are we helping students who need this?
Diane.
Okay. Actually, I just had a conversation with Christy Harris, the Director of Special Education, and we are looking at possible assessments that we can do online, or if once Dr. Polsky gives us a go-ahead, we might be able to bring a child and an assessor in a room, social distance, and do the assessments. We are certainly aware that our students with disabilities need additional support, or our students with perceived disabilities at this point, if your child hasn't completed the process yet. So we are working on that. Unfortunately, the government has not relaxed any of the requirements for IDEA. So we have to follow the complete process as we would have in any other situation. But hopefully within the next week or so, we'll be able to get more information out for our students that are in the IEP process.
Thank you.
The next question would come from somebody that is calling from a phone.
Oh, I have a question. Can I?
Yeah, if you just identify yourself and then go
Sure.
ahead.
Sure. So my name is Michelle Gutierrez, and I'm a parent. I have a child in 6th grade at Calvert Middle and another one in 3rd grade at Barstow. So I have 2 questions, but before that, I just want to comment and say, I think you guys are doing a great job given this crazy circumstance and everything that's going on. I mean, like you say, compared to other counties, I think, we're way ahead of the game here. The only thing I wanted to throw out there, I'm fine with this year. I'm just looking ahead to September, what that's going to look like. For what it's worth, for my 2 cents, any way you guys can get kids in the classroom is fantastic. Whether it's 1 day a week, this whole A day, B day, week on, week off, all these, rumors I keep hearing. Because I just feel like, it's not just the education, but the social element. These kids are so isolated right now, and it's really just damaging, and I just feel for them so bad because I've been home, fortunately, from work, but I go back to work in June. And so I'm just thinking next year, my youngest will be at daycare if he's not at school, and then if it is totally digital, he's only going to be able to do schoolwork in the evening when I'm home from work, me and my husband. So that's just something to consider, but I know they would just love to go back to school in any way, shape, or form that can happen. But the only 2 questions I had, one, I was wondering when do you guys, or if it's you or the state, the governor, whoever, when do you think they absolutely have to decide about next year? Like maybe what's the absolute deadline for that? And then also, if you anticipate that it's going to be more of a statewide decision about what schools look like, or if it's going to be kind of county by county and then each county decide the logistics of it. So those were the two things I was curious about.
Now, first of all, let me say, I hear you, and we recognize most parents are in the same boat as you. They don't like any kind of idea of any sort of midway thing where some of your kids might be in school and some of your kids won't be in school. How do we, if we have to do alternating, if we can't populate, let's say if you've got a high school the size of Calvert High of 1,200, and we're told we should have no more than 600 in the building at a time, then how do we do school? Those are some of the challenges we'll be faced. First, we begin with the governor's plan to return, a recovery, and we try to translate the governor's plans then to what's that mean for school. If we're told we can have, now the limit is still 10 people together in one place. If we're told that can now be 20, oh, that's getting pretty good. That's not a bad idea. We're getting closer to being able to have school, but in a high school, what about class change? The hallways in middle school and the high school, class change time can be pretty crowded, even if just half the population's there. So those are the kinds of things that we have to try to make a plan for. Now, who will make the decision? I believe that we'll be told such things as limits on number of people in a space and number of people we can put on a school bus to transport to school. And then we'll be told, make your own plan that fits in those limits. Okay. So that's kind of where we will be stuck. Phase 2 for the governor is depending upon certain data that looks a certain way. And then phase 3 is dependent upon another set of data showing trends going in the right direction. Phase 3, we presume, might be close to looking like we want school to look like. But that could be August before we're told that we're in phase 3.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. We're working on multiple different plans, and it's just we will try to be ready once we have an idea. There's so many issues. You talk about the social, this whole business, people and their sports, our kids and their sports and their teams, and that's a part of the fabric of school. We've even recently were asked if kids who are seniors this spring, who were going to be in a play, if the school can produce the play in fall, and those kids can come back and play those parts. My first thought is, and that softball pitcher who was going to pitch their senior year this spring, come back and play next spring? No.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, no one's going to. So no, once you're graduated, your part's going to have to go to somebody else. But there's lots of folks still trying to hang on to that last bit of normalcy, and we understand. And school sports and school activities is a big, big part of that. Right.
Okay. Yeah, it's just, I mean, the whole thing is just a total shame, obviously, but I just hope they can get to school in some, and I know it's not in your hands, but in some way, shape, or form. So.
Yeah, I have no idea what we're going to do if we're told we're limited on buses, because we don't have. How long would it take us to get everyone to school if we could only put a bus to half a normal capacity?
Right.
Okay, I have no more questions in the queue. Do we have anybody that's on the phone that wants to ask a question?
Aaron, I think Ms. Brockington has another question.
Yeah, Ms. Brockington.
Oh, I didn't see you raise your hand, sorry.
I just had a quick question. So if we're doing the A/B, which sounds very possible, or some sort of alternating schedule where kids will be doing distance learning and being in the classroom of some sort in the fall. How does that work for teachers? Because how do you do both distance learning and in classroom at the same time every day? Plus, what do you do with your kids?
You don't. It's all a big joke. It really is. I'm sorry. I'm gonna mute myself. It's not my turn.
That's okay. You can participate. Tell us who's talking.
I mean, seriously, like the likelihood of any of this working out and that any of our children are gonna come out good at the end of this, if it continues past the fall, is absolutely absurd. It's absurd on so many levels: mental health, social and emotional growth, basic life skills, common sense, their immune systems. Not to mention, you're talking about kids like their senior year who were counting on sports people to come out and, recruit them from, different colleges. That never happened. They can't pick that stuff back up again. You can't just move forward and all of a sudden, no, I know we got out of school, in March, and now it's next March, but I'm supposed to be all caught up. This like delay in learning isn't only going to be 4 months long. It's going to be at least a year and a half a delay. These kids aren't going to be up to par at all unless we're back in the classroom full time regardless. And everyone knows that. There just has to be a way to do it to where it's cleaner. I don't know. Check your temperature when you come in, have hand washing schedule. I mean, I don't know what to do, but
I agree. Whatever. Yeah, whatever the schools want the kids to do, wear masks, wash your hands, temperature. I will have my child do it if it means they're going to be in a classroom and going to school. I agree.
Yes, they need to be there. It doesn't matter. And quite frankly, I get it that it's a serious thing or whatever, but the effects that this is having that are not health related are going to far outweigh the health negativity from it in the long run. And
exactly.
I completely agree. If a parent is not comfortable with their child going to school, then they have the right not to send them.
Yeah, and that's
what about the students at our regional programs that already are hands-on students that I'm wondering cannot wear or will not wear face masks or get scared when their parents even wear face masks? Like I don't know what we're going to do about them that already have, one-on-ones or, additional support in the classrooms. Like, I don't know how they're going to handle this when they go back.
Right. There's a lot of, once again, that's just among those things we don't know. We don't have an easy answer.
So who's the person who decides, okay, if they're going to go back to school and they have to wear masks, who gets to decide that they wear masks? And at what point and where does the information come from that these people are basing their decisions that masks are the right thing to do? Like, who makes that decision that masks are the best thing for a child or an adult to do? Because if you read a lot of these, reports and stuff from doctors and medical professionals and all these people who have studied this stuff their whole lives, the general consensus is actually the opposite of what we're being told to do.
Well, like anything else, you can find a variety of opinions, but those kinds of directions for us will come from our health department. Health department and the state will tell us, yes, you could, perhaps they'll say you can have school, but every child should wear a mask. If they don't come to school with a mask, you should provide them with one. Staff who work with difficult children, where there might be bodily fluids, they're going to have to be issued proper protective equipment, not just masks, but perhaps face shields, things like that. So those will be one child at a time for some of those unique ones. But as far as the masks go, the hand washing, all of that stuff will no doubt be a part of our future for a while, as far as I can see.
That being said, so what's the difference between an order and a law is very, very big. A law is something that you can get in trouble for, you can be persecuted for it, you can have jail time, there's a penalty. But an order is totally different. An order is more like a suggestion, really. So at what point is this going to be? So for me personally, my daughter goes to a private school. It's a very small school. There's maybe 40 students in the entire school. So what if if her school doesn't agree with the whole mask wearing thing, or do they have the opportunity to decide along with their parents and their staff, okay, hey, as a collective private place where these people pay lots and lots of money for their kids to go here, is that going to be up to those people, or is that going to be something that we're going to be required to do just because the state of Maryland is doing it
I can't,
in the public school?
yeah, I can't speak to what a private school, how they would decide that. For us, if it's a directive from government, we're a government entity, and we would certainly be expected to follow through. But what a private school would do, can't really say. Another thing I was going to mention, that I wouldn't be surprised, there are still a number of parents we would expect who, no matter how we come back, will be fearful and they'll be scared. And there will be some parents, I believe, who will say, I want this online option as a public school option. We've done okay with it.
We could all choose from that, you know?
Yes, I expect we'll have some parents say, I want that on the menu. I want my child, whatever grade level, and will you offer me that, the online option to just continue? And so we'll have to consider.
So then we would have to expect the teachers to do in-class learning as well as online digital learning.
Well, imagine we had a whole class of fourth graders all over Calvert County. Let's say we had 20 fourth graders whose parents said, I want my child to continue online learning. We could put one teacher responsible for those 20 kids. Doesn't matter where they live. There's going to be one fourth grade teacher who does the online learning for fourth grade. That could be one possible way to address that.
Yeah, it would be great if, collectively as a county and a state or whatever, okay, everybody goes back to school. You have the option, you always have, even prior to COVID, to homeschool your child. So now that public schools are opened up again and everyone is welcome to come back in, this is hypothetically, of course, then those same people who are afraid to send their child back to school have the option to homeschool them. That's not the responsibility of the Board of Education of any county to make sure that they appease these parents who are driven by fear or whatever it may be, that they don't want to have their child back in a public school. If you've opted for your child to go to public school and public school is now open, it's not, in my opinion, the responsibility of that public school to provide an education for your child for distance learning. If that's your choice, then now you're a homeschool teacher, and the Board of Education should be out completely if that's the case, that these, this is the road that those parents would like to go down.
Excuse me.
Right.
Excuse me.
And
Can I ask a question?
Okay. Can I just make one comment about that, and then I'll stop? And to be honest with you guys, no matter what you decide, there's going to be people that are unhappy. I can just tell you that right now. but maybe that is an option, that by a certain date you say, okay, parents, here's the deal. You choose, now assuming the governor or whatever allows it, say you choose, do you want your child to go in person or do you want to do 100% online? And maybe that would actually reduce some of the kids that have to take the bus or have to, transportation. And then you can kind of see, okay, here's the true number of what we're working with. Now we can decide, are we going to do A day, B day? Are we going to do this, do that? I mean, maybe that would reduce the total number, so then you have less kids you have to manage and work with in person, really.
Could work out that way. I think it could work out that way. And I think it was Queen Anne's County last year who started an online option just to attract some of the homeschoolers back into the public schools. Okay.
And I think that's a great idea. Have one set of teachers that are just for the kids, and then they could be happy as clams doing that, and it'd be great for them.
Yep.
How would they have the social aspect?
Well, that's their parents are choosing that. Their parents are choosing that, so that's their choice.
Why couldn't their parents get an option for them to socialize with like people? Why?
We're just talking about school days.
$18,000 per pupil. The parent is still going to be taxed at that per pupil amount of the students who are getting the full effect of things that a good majority of parents may not agree with. So to make everyone homeschool. I'm sorry?
You mean just for the homeschool issue or the choice between when schools open of going back or choosing to keep their kid home?
I'm just saying for the parents who want their children to socialize, and if there are enough to agree on who they're socializing with and how, then they should have the option of a public school building to put them in together. That's all I'm saying. Because we all still pay about right now $18,000 per pupil in the big penny of the cost of education, regardless of whether our kid goes to school or not.
Sure, I think she was talking about the ones that don't want to send their kids to school. That's who she was talking about.
And I would imagine they don't want their kids doing a lot of socializing either if they have that fear of sending them to school.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
I think
excuse me, these are supposed to be questions for the superintendent and Ms. Workman. And I know everybody has opinions they want to express, but we really want to reserve this time for questions for the superintendent if possible.
I have a question, and I tried to raise my hand option, but I don't know if it's working.
Okay.
This is Sarah Lively.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Dr. Curry. I too want to thank you for the phenomenal job that the county has done, giving the tools that we have at our disposal. I have to say that the teachers as well as the administration have gone above and beyond, in my opinion, in trying to make this work the best that they can. My question is a bit hypothetical, and I think some of it has been answered through the discussion here today. But I do think it's an important one to consider, even though it is hypothetical. Does the county have a position or a plan on how we would approach, if given the option, if the counties themselves were given the option to reopen in the same way that it happened with the reopening last week, where counties were given the option to make their own decision? So if it were put into the hands of the counties, how would you proceed? Whose decision would it be to move forward? And is there a plan to, I don't know, maybe poll the parents, or is it a school board decision, or is it a health department decision? How would the county make that decision if given that choice?
We're not expecting, we would be expected to make our own decisions, but within the guidance of the health department and the state. So the distancing, the hand washing, the masks, all of those are possible part of our daily future. And those aren't things that, I'm an educator. Diane's an educator. We're not health professionals. We don't want to, we will make a plan that, just for virtually everything that we hope to be able to do, we'll be sharing it with Dr. Polsky and the health department. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? So that we will be expected still to stay within whatever limits there are for getting people together and how much space there should be between them, things like that. So our
But
plan.
I'm talking about full reopening versus no reopening. If the governor comes and says it's up to each county whether or not they reopen schools within these guidelines or not, regardless what the guidelines are, if given the option to reopen or not reopen, how is that decision going to be made for Calvert?
Ultimately, the Board of Education and with advice of the staff would be the ones making that decision. But I don't expect that will be the kind of, it's up to you now, kind of message we'll get from the state. The governors, if you've noticed over the last couple of months, makes announcements about business and about businesses and how we are, whether we need to stay home or whether we can feel comfortable coming out, but still being maintaining a safe distance. And as state superintendent is then the one that talks about closing schools or not closing schools. So we expect, at least by the time the state is in phase 3, the state superintendent will translate that to the school districts and say, what that means for schools is you can do this. And we will all be, we'll all be looking forward to doing, not keeping up with what we're doing right now, but we will all be making plans this summer for every time there's another string untied that limits us. Therefore, we are less limited. Therefore, that makes our planning even that much better. So we will
Excellent.
be
you.
open. Yeah, we'll be open if we can be open. It'll just be within the guidance of and the limits of the health department's recommendations.
I appreciate hearing that. Thank you.
Sure.
Wanda, you've been sitting with your hand up a long time.
That's okay. It's been interesting. One of the things people have to realize is that the decision, yes, is the governor's, yes, is the school board's, but the health department and like the EMS council and stuff has a lot of say-so in it because they're the ones out on the line that see what's going on, what areas are affected. Calvert's been very lucky in that we've had a very low number of cases and stuff, but we still have a lot. And for the ones that are concerned about sending their kids to school and stuff, it's a rightful fear. I can understand it. But yes, we as a school system should make availability to them if they're not coming just because of the cross-contamination that is possible. And what I was saying about the cell phone was not the individual students with the cell phone. It sounds silly, but if any of you watched American Idol last night, they used their cell phone as the camera for the feedback. So the teacher could have her cell phone set up so that the home students or the students learning online are getting the same feedback during the classroom time as the other kids and could ask questions and relate back. That's something to look into so that, they're not feeling like they're totally isolated from their friends. They get part of their teacher, they get part of their classroom, some of the jokes that go on or whatever, the statements, but it would make them feel a little bit more a part of the school experience.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Okay, Dr. Gray, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, well, thank you everyone for participating today. I'm glad we got the chance to get together. And my email is pretty accessible, curryd@calvertnet.k12.md.us. Feel free if you have questions or thoughts, feel free to share them with me. There's a lot of hard decisions that will be made. And as someone said, there will always be someone who thinks you should have done something else or made the decision another way. But that's part of our life there. But I can't say enough for Diane Workman and the Department of Instruction and all the work they have done to get our teachers up and running and the online and our IT department to get, we are still doing exchanges. I mean, you might imagine how many laptops get broken in a week at home. And we are, we're talking about collecting them, but hey, if you're going to be in a grade level where it's going to be handed a laptop next year, we're not going to collect it. Just bring it with you when you come back to school next year. Keep it for the summer, which makes some people nervous. What? You're going to keep a school property all summer long? Well, let's just do it that way, and that'll be one less face-to-face interaction and exchange. Finally, we're working with the seniors right now on them getting their stuff at school. Those who have left things in their lockers and things like that, we've got to make arrangements for them to come to school and get their stuff, as well as come to school and give us any of our stuff, textbooks and things like that. Once we learn how that works, the best way to make that happen with our seniors, then we'll be doing it with the other grade levels too, in order to make that exchange happen before the end of the school year. So We've got things we're working on to put a bow on this school year. We got things we're working on for summer school and interventions, and we got a million ways we might be looking at doing school next year. So stay tuned, and there'll be lots to share. Diane?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for their support and their kind words today. Our staff, we had 200 elementary teachers volunteer to collaborate together to develop lessons to send out to all the other teachers in the county, and that's huge. So we could not have done this without our fantastic teachers and administrators.
So take care. I'm going to sign off. And
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.